Welcome back to Game Night Studios, How to Paint Stormtroopers Part 2. Part 1 I showed you how to establish that base white on the trooper, shade in the black, and now we're going to get into the fun part. We are going to learn how to shade the white. We're going to add a bunch of contrast to this. We're going to add an edge highlight to the gun. We're going to make this thing pop. We're going to make this thing beautiful. We're going to get this guy ready for the tabletop. He's got rebels to kill. Let's get to it. So we got our white done. We got our black done. Now, the colors are where they're supposed to be, but there's no shading on the model. It looks pretty two-dimensional, pretty bland right now. We're going to start off with the Vallejo gloss. We're going to put that in the airbrush, and we're going to establish a nice gloss coat on this model. Put some water in the airbrush. Nice little squeezer bottles make that a bit easier. Grab some Vallejo airbrush thinner, pop that in the pot as well. Mix it all up with the backflow technique. Then grab that Vallejo gloss. We're going to pop that into the pot. What that's going to do is it's going to give a very nice glossy protective coat to the Stormtrooper. It's going to have that nice Stormtrooper glossy armor look, and that white's going to be protected. But what it's also going to do is help out drastically when we apply our wash to this model. It's going to break up the surface tension of the wash, and it's going to make it go right where we need it to go. So we pop it in the airbrush. We got the mini. He's ready to go. We're going to do 2 thin coats with this airbrush of this gloss. If you're doing this right, you're going to want to hold the mini kind of at an angle in the light so you can really make sure you're getting it on there. You want the mini to look wet. You don't want it to be too saturated with the gloss. Build it up. You want to do 2 coats. 2 coats of that gloss. So here's the mini after we finish glossing it up. Like I say, that is going to come in extremely handy later, so don't miss out on that step. Grab some Secret Weapon Miniature and Reaper Pure Black, Secret Weapon Weathered Wood. We're going to paint that gun right now. You could do this step before you gloss it. I didn't. Doesn't really matter. Mix those 2 together. It's going to give you a nice off gray. That way it is a different color than the hands. If you painted the gun black and the hands black, it would just look kind of weird because there'd be no differentiation between the 2. It will also make it a lot easier to add some edge highlighting and shading to this blaster rifle, which is our next step. First coat is that mix of the weathered wood and the pure black. Weathered wood from Secret Weapon and pure black from Reaper. Next step of the highlighting process on the gun, we're going to grab some rainy gray, also from Reaper. Put a drop of that in. Get a damp paintbrush and stir that up in the paint. That's going to water the paint down to the point where it works really well and doesn't clump up anywhere. What we're going to do is we're going to wipe off some of the paint from the brush, and we're just going to use the side of it to put an edge highlight anywhere we see a raised area on that gun. The tips, the bottom, the sides, anywhere we see it, we're going to pop it on there. It's going to add a lot of dimension and highlighting to this gun. You don't need to spend time doing anything like dry brushing on it. It's a pretty simple gun. We're not going to do anything crazy. We're just going to get some neat highlight and contrast to it. So we got that gray on there. We're going to bump these highlights up one more step with some weathered wood. Just grab the weathered wood. Same step as before. Don't forget to mix it with a damp brush, because that will make all the difference in the world, I promise. Same thing as before, but instead of going over all the areas we hit with the gray, we're going to hit just the tips, just like the upper half of the edges on the gun. That's going to make them really pop and look a lot sharper. Sharper, neater, and cleaner is exactly what we're going for. It's a really easy step. It adds so much dimension to the model. And it's such a nice technique. You can use it on a bunch of things. But there you go. We have a nice edge highlighted Stormtrooper gun. It's got some cool dimension to it. It's good to go. We're not done with it yet though. We're going to add some more to it later. We're going to take some Army Painter Quick Shade Dark Tone and Army Painter Quick Shade Mixing Medium. Now, these are the secret weapon of the painting white process. The mixing medium is going to actually water down the wash a little bit to the point where it is going to not be as harsh. We're going to hit all the creases and edges on this guy. Anywhere there's a little lip or an edge, that's going to get hit with some of this. I'm going to show you painting off one leg here, and I'll show you the contrast between it and the other one. They have a nice rim around the boot, so we put the wash right on the boot. And since we hit this model with gloss, it's going to be really difficult to get this wash anywhere where we don't want it, because the surface tension of the wash is broken up by the gloss, and it is going to be pushed right into the edges, right where we want this thing. If you were to just dump wash all over this Mini, it would look really dirty, really dingy, so I don't recommend doing that. Just take your time, be patient with it, put it right where it needs to go, and don't worry about it getting anywhere else. If it does get a little bit out of hand, it's wash, it's wet, it's hard to control sometimes, I'll show you how to fix that. It's really, really easy since we put that gloss on there. That is a lifesaver, that gloss. It is going to make everything go right where it needs to go and not anywhere else. Every little edge you can on this. The more we put on, the better that contrast is going to be. Since we got that gloss on there, if you get the wash outside the box a little bit, you just wipe it off with your thumb if you can reach it. If not, I'll show you how to fix it. It's very, very simple and easy. Try not to get carried away with the wash. Washing is definitely a skill-based technique. You just kind of got to find your boundaries. Don't put too much on, but don't put too little either. It does take a little bit of practice to get the right ratio, but you'll get it. There is a very good reason why I don't shade white how I would shade any other color. With a normal color, you would want to establish a base and then gradually shade it up, mixing other colors into it. But if you try to do that with white, it tends to make it look dirty. If you try to do that with the base coat, touching up that white when you hit the black would make it super difficult because the shading would be off. If you try to treat white like any other color, it'll look really funky and it will be really hard to fix. And you can see the contrast just in one leg to the other with that wash we put on there. You just do that through the other leg, through the whole model. I'll show you some of the trickier bits. But there it is after you do the other leg. I didn't want to waste your guys' time seeing me do every single individual line on this Stormtrooper. You get the idea. You put the wash in the recesses, like here on the belt. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you how to do the stomach as well. On the stomach, just put the wash all the way through it. Don't even worry about it. It should be naturally more shaded anyway because it's got more sunk in detail beneath that chest plate. So it's fine just like that. Hit the bottom edge of this little square on his back. Careful not to hit the raised things in it, but you don't have to worry about it too much. The braces on his arms have lots of little indented squares in them. Same thing, just hit the whole top, bottom, and sides of it with wash. You can see how much detail that gave the arm. And it's a pretty relatively quick step considering how long a lot of other techniques can take. I've seen people shade white where they just cover the whole thing in wash and then they have to go through with that same white and kind of wash out that shade that they just put on everything. And since it's white, it takes a lot of coats, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort. Stuff we're trying to avoid. I mean, either you're painting these minis for yourself or you're painting them because you want to be a mini painter and make some money on it, do some commissions. So either way, the faster you can do it and still have it look good, that's the goal. That's what you want to do. And this is such a quick and easy step to just take the model from super basic to amazing right out the gate. Don't forget the detail on the back of their heads. They've got 2 indented spots near the top, and they also have a little lip connecting both of them. They also have a couple other details back there that'll look really off if you miss. He's a Stormtrooper. He's got Ewoks to kill. He's got planets to destroy. He's got things to do, and he needs to be shaded properly to do it. You can't just land on a planet, commit some civil rights violations with coffee stains everywhere. It'd be ridiculous. The back of your head has to be beautiful. We all know that's the truth. Don't forget to put some wash on the gun. That is going to add a bit more depth and definition to that. Head to toe, this guy's going to look his best. Everything's got some shade on it. You can see, from where we started to where we are now, look how much more definition and contrast we have in that armor. Because of that gloss, it was super easy, nothing out of place. But no matter what, there's going to be some mistakes. I'm going to show you how to fix that right here. One of the biggest issues that I've ever had and that I ever see people talking about online is coffee staining. You get some wash somewhere where you don't want it. And like, how do you fix that? I mean, you could grab the basic white, go on there and try to fix it, but what it's going to do is it's going to wipe out that gloss, it's going to get some texture on it, it's going to look weird. Since we put that gloss on there, it's actually even easier to fix. Grab some high performance reducer from Auto Air Colors. Just pretend all your coffee stains are a bunch of peaceful Ewoks, because this will wipe them all out. It's supposed to decrease the drying time of airbrush paint, but what I've found, kind of by accident, is it works great for eliminating coffee stains. You can see right here, you just get a little bit of it on your brush, and you just wipe the coffee stain away. Boom, it's gone like magic. You could put more white on there and just have a ball with that, but it's the easiest thing in the world. I actually discovered this by complete accident when I was trying to shade some like yellowy white. I was just frustrated and trying whatever I could, and came up with that. Bam, just wipe it off. Do that to any area on the Mini where that wash is anywhere you don't want it. Just get a smaller brush. You can see here I got a little bit where I didn't want it on the shoulder. Just put some of the reducer on the brush, wipe it out. Done. Little inside the leg, a little bit of a scrape, done. That's going to save you hours. This exact same method will work with any kind of coffee staining. If you are painting a colored Mini and you use like a brown wash on a green or something, you can still use the same technique. Grab the airbrush reducer, just wipe it away. It'll be a lot easier with the gloss. You can still do it with just paint, even if you haven't glossed anything. But look at that, look how great that looks. That's all we had to do, just wipe those away. We didn't spend any extra time on that. We're going to grab any kind of black you want. I like the Deco black just because it's dirt cheap. You can get it at Hobby Lobby for like $1. And we're going to black out the base. I highly recommend you black out the base on anything you paint, because it really makes everything pop. It makes it look way cleaner. Paint the rim as well. We're actually going to do 2 coats of this, because generally speaking it doesn't go on, none of them do, they go on like patchy, as you can see. So we let it dry, grab it again, same paint, 2 coats. That ensures that it's nice, thick, it's exactly what you want. Now once we have the base painted up, the Mini's almost done. The colors are exactly where they need to be. All we need to do now is put a protective finish on the Mini. We spent this much time painting it, we don't want it to get bumped and then scratched and then have to fix it or start over again. So Stormtroopers are supposed to be glossy, so we grab some Testors Gloss Coat. We're going to hit the entire Mini with that. We're going to get it on the base as well. That's going to lock in all that wash we did, and it's going to protect that black base. But if you're like me, you don't really like putting gloss on anything that doesn't need it. The Stormtroopers are naturally glossy, so it looks good on them, that's fine. But I don't like my bases glossy. So I'm going to grab some Vallejo matte varnish. It's a paint-on varnish. And that is completely going to wipe out the glossiness to the base, and it's going to add another protective coat to it. Chances are, if you have a really nicely painted Mini, you're going to mainly handle it by the base, because you don't want to mess up the paint job. So don't worry about putting it on evenly. It dries, you can't tell. It's gonna look even if it's not perfect. You don't want to get it on the white, because we want the white glossy since it's a Stormtrooper armor. Just cover the entire base with that, rim, top, everything. We're actually going to do 2 coats to completely wipe out that gloss that we put on there. And this base is going to be extremely protected. It's not going to chip. Bam. Also, don't forget to put some on the gun if you want, if you don't want that gun to look glossy. I like putting it on the gun because I think it adds a little bit of dimension to the Mini. Not everything looks quite so the same. If the gun's not glossy and the Mini is, I think that adds a little bit to it. I think it kicks it up a notch. And there we are with the second coat of the matte varnish. And there we have it. We have a beautiful, shaded Stormtrooper, protected. This thing's ready to just decimate some rebels on the tabletop. Look how pretty that thing is. And it wasn't all that hard. We learned some cool tricks along the way. It's shaded, it's fun. You just do this to the whole rest of the fleet. And he's absolutely beautiful. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned some tricks, some tips, tricks, shading white. Lots of people have issues with that. But it's neat when you actually have it done, go back and see just how much we did to this Mini. We see just how basic the white was without any of the shading, how much more it pops now, how much more contrast the Mini has. It's beautiful. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys had a good time with it. I'm definitely going to be making more. I'm doing live tutorials on Twitch. If you ever want to see anything, feel free to send me a Facebook message or an email. I'm always open to make new things. I'm going to be coming out with some more on my own. I'd love to see what you guys have to say. Thank you guys for checking out the video. You have a good night. Stick around for some bloopers starring Helper Cat.